Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here, and welcome back to a new YouTube video on the channel. And today, guys, we're going to be doing our AFL 2023 Round 7 preview. And in today's video, we're going to be previewing every game of Round 7 and going over my tips and predictions. But anyway, though, before we start the previews, we always do the week prior the review. So the Dogs beat the Dockers by 49. Port Adelaide beat West Coast by 40. Brisbane beat the Giants by 21. Geelong smashed the Swans by 93. Adelaide beat Hawthorn by 3. St Kilda got over Carlton by 22. Gold Coast beat North Melbourne by 43. Melbourne defeated Richmond by 18. And Collingwood defeated Essendon by 13 in what a great Anzac Day clash it was. And also after round 6, here is the ladder. If you want to pause it to see where your side is at, please do feel free to go ahead and do so. Anyway, though, it's time to go ahead and start the round 7 preview. So here we go. Friday night, St Kilda versus Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium. Now, this is going to be probably an interesting game, I reckon. Port Adelaide got over West Coast last week in some sort of fashion. They didn't absolutely smash them out of the park. West Coast were competitive for most of the game. It was just that second quarter where they got away. But St Kilda against Carlton are showing that they can do it against some real big opponents. And they kept them to a score of 60. So I wouldn't be expecting this one to be a very high-scoring game based on St Kilda's defensive plan, game style that they've got. I wouldn't be expecting to see Port Adelaide score over 70 or anything like that. So this is going to be a low-scoring game. It's not really 50-50. There is quite a clear winner at Marvel. I think the Saints will win this one by 19 points. But yeah, I do think it'll be low scoring. But I think St Kilda are going to really put some dominance over Port Adelaide. 19 points may not seem like a lot, but I do feel like they'll probably dominate this game. Saturday's first game is Brisbane versus Fremantle at the Gabba. Early on in the year looked to be quite an exciting matchup. We all expected Freo to be doing way better than what they are. Now it looks to be an absolute dead game. This is a dead rubber game here at the Gabba. It's going to be a really boring contest. Brisbane are so good there. They've beaten Collingwood there. They've beaten Melbourne there. They've beaten some great sides there this year already. And there's a very good chance that they could potentially be a shot to not lose a game at the Gabba this year. They definitely look like they're in that kind of form up there. They are very good up there, and I think they'll win this game by a very big margin. I think they'll win this game by anywhere from about like 45 to 60 points. It's going to be a demolition. Sydney versus GWS is the next game, the Sydney Derby, the SCG. Also in that Saturday day time slot. This is the second Saturday afternoon game because there's no Thursday night. That is the time slot which does replace the Thursday night games. But anyway, though, Sydney Derby. This one probably a little bit more interesting than what it looked to be at the start of the year. I at least saw Sydney winning by about 50 points at the start of the year a few weeks ago. Now, though, after their couple of really poor weeks in a row, well, not really poor weeks in a row, but they didn't convincingly get over Richmond until the end. Their big loss to Geelong, their big loss to Melbourne. A couple of little things adding up for the Swans at the moment. They just haven't been as good as what I thought they would be in the past few weeks. And yes, they're missing lots of key players around the ground. Franklin, the McCartan brothers, Rampy. So yes, they're definitely missing a few players, especially in that Geelong loss. I still feel like they get the job done by 31, but the Giants are definitely going to make them earn that win because they've been competitive, the Giants. Western Bulldogs versus Hawthorn is a Saturday twilight game at Marvel Stadium. And the Hawks last week versus the Crows looked good. They do have a little luck charm in Tassie, though. And they played really well. They almost tackled themselves to victory. The amount of effort and relentless pressure they put on was good. At Marvel Stadium, I don't think this is going to be the case. The Dogs have looked very good in the past few weeks. But yeah, they've been good. Rounds 3, 4 and 6 were great wins for the Western Bulldogs. Beating Freo at home, Richmond at the MCG and the Lions at Marvel. So I feel like those are 3 very important wins for their season. They were pretty disappointing against Port Adelaide, the Adelaide Oval. Those wins, especially the round 3 and round 5 games, did rely on one player. But the round 4 and 6 games were very good where multiple players got in, kicked goals, and it wasn't just one player that was doing it for the Western Bulldogs. So I feel like with that all added up, I feel like they can get a really big win here against the Hawks by around, again, another 50 or so point margin, 45, something like that. Melbourne versus North Melbourne, Saturday night footy at the MCG, and this does not look to be a very appealing matchup at all. The Saturday this coming round is not that interesting, to be completely honest. There's not really a lot of great games. There's a good chance probably one of these games will surprise and be a good game, but it probably won't be this one. Melbourne versus North Melbourne is probably the most unappealing matchup possible, especially even on a Saturday night. It's not looking that great. North, they looked okay at the start of the year. They put up some decent performances from rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4. I thought they were alright. And the first quarter of round 5, they were okay as well. They've just slipped away from there. And they had to really put up a fight against the Suns last week. Couldn't do that. I feel like the D's, I don't really need to say too much more. They're in great form. Their win over Richmond, they just got there. If North can actually get the ball in and try and break through that D's defence, but I just don't think they'll be experienced or skillful enough to do that. I think the Demons will be able to easy pick off all their balls that go inside 50. North will probably get a very low score, could be even under 50, and the D's will win this game by about 50 points as well. I think I said 54. West Coast versus Carlton is a Saturday night game at Optus Stadium. This one, I believe, could be more exciting than Melbourne versus North Melbourne, although it's not that hard to top it. West Coast this week, for me, they need to put up a very good performance if they're to start showing some signs. Against Geelong and Port Adelaide, they played pretty well, I thought. They've looked better. They've got a bit of a new game plan going. And if they can actually put up 4 quarters against Carlton in Perth in front of their home fans, I think you'd have to, if you're a West Coast fan, I think you'd have to be pretty happy with that. This could be a close game. I still feel like Carlton will win. Margin for this one, not quite sure. It could be really anywhere from 10, which West Coast put up a good performance, or they could absolutely flop in this one and Carlton win by 50. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how their defence goes, because you got to take on Mackay and Kerno, and if you do let them break through for a night out, you'll be gone pretty soon. So, I think this is going to be a really interesting contest. I feel like both sides need to win, or at least put up a good performance here. But Carlton, they do need to win. I think they'll win by 29 points, but I think West Coast will make them earn it as well. Sunday's games look to be more appealing. Essendon versus Geelong, the first game, the MCG on the Sunday. And Essendon, they look to be the real deal at 3-quarter time against the Pies, but lost it in the last quarter. This is a big bounce-back game for them, and they're going to be doing it against one of the best in the comp, the Cats. And the Cats have just found their potential this year already, and they're off and running now after really good games against Hawthorn, West Coast, and Sydney. They are off and running. Yes, West Coast Hawthorn, not the hardest opponents to play. Sydney definitely a harder one, but they had a lot of players out due to injury as well. So 3 relatively easy weeks in a row for the Cats. But this is probably going to be their biggest test yet, I reckon, since that Gold Coast loss. This is going to be their biggest test against the Bombers. But if you've got Jeremy Cameron, Tom Hawkins down kicking goals, I feel like the Bombers' defence will struggle, especially if they did in the last quarter against the Pies, 41-point turnaround. If you let that happen with the Cats, they'll destroy you in just a quarter of footy. So I say the Cats by 25, which doesn't sound like a lot. I think Essendon will be in this one for most of it, but I think the Cats will just be too good, too strong at the end. Richmond versus Gold Coast at Marvel Stadium is a Sunday Channel 7 game. Both these two sides, as you can see on ladder position 16th versus 14th, need to win. Gold Coast, their win versus North was good. Richmond, they played pretty well against the Melbourne, just couldn't quite hang on, but they were doing everything right, kicking to the right spots, except in that last term. So at Marvel, this does loom as a dangerous game for Richmond. They don't like Marvel. They lost to North there last year. Don't want to bring back any bad memories for Richmond fans. Sorry about that. But it is to get the point across that they're not great at Marvel. They lost to the Suns at this venue a few years back, or a year or two ago. So they need to get their wriggle on here to the Tigers. They only get 1 or 2 home games here a year. So if they can get them against some easier opponents, they need to make the most of it. And I feel like this is a game they should be winning as well. Just based on teams on paper, Richmond do have quite a clear dominance. Now, I've only said Richmond by 10, which is quite a small margin, because they don't like Marvel for whatever reason. But yes, I'm tipping them by 10. I think they'll get the job done, but I think the Suns are going to put up a very good old fight. Adelaide versus Collingwood is the last game of the round at the Adelaide Oval in that Sunday twilight time slot. Now, 5th versus 2nd, this does look to be quite an interesting game. Collingwood, we know they ran over Essendon late in the game, in the Anzac Day game, and the Crows were good enough against the Hawks to hold on for a win. But Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval are a different story. They are a great side there. Their forward line looks dangerous, and if Collingwood's defence is undermanned, it could be a breakthrough day for the Crows. Now, I don't think they're going to smash the Pies if they do get the win. I think the only way to smash them is the Pies smash the Crows. I feel like that's the only way, but I don't think that'll be the case. I reckon it's going to be a close game. This is probably the best game of the round, maybe. I mean, there's a couple of other decent ones, but this is probably one of the better ones. Big question marks whether Scott Penderby plays. I'm pretty sure Nick Dacos should be fine after his little punch thing. But yeah, I feel like this is going to be a very good game. 7-point win for the Pies, I reckon. I reckon they'll just be too strong, but I think the Crows will put up a great fight all day. Alright, so here's my predicted ladder after round 7 with all the margins. So I'll go through the margins real quick. Alright, so before we go to the ladder, we're going to go over my tips. So they are St Kilda by 19, Brisbane by 47, Sydney by 31, the Dogs by 45, Melbourne by 54, Carlton by 29, Geelong by 25, Richmond by 10, and Collingwood by 7. Alright, so here is the ladder after round 7. That's what I think it's going to be with scores. So make sure to go ahead and check out my tipping video as well as entering the margin comp for your chance to win a shout out. Make sure to go ahead and do that. But anyway, though, here is the ladder after round 7 with all the scores from my tipping video. And as we are doing in these little round previews now, we're having a little look at some of the top player stats. So for anybody who's interested in the Coleman medal, it's Cameron, 27 goals. He's winning that by 6 goals at the moment, so he's having a breakout year. Nick Dacos has the most disposals by 19 in the competition. No surprise, Sicily's taken the most marks. No surprise, it's Cameron and Leb score involvements. But yep, there it is. There's all the player stats. Alright, so there we go. Big round of footy coming up as per usual. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Sending you guys another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much. Subscribe, everyone. Flame Footy out.